Black cisgender heterosexual identified men are killing Black trans women. Black ones.
We are not talking about it in the church.
Those street guys are already engineers. If they're mixing drugs and stuff together, they're chemical engineers.
If you're just like, yeah, let's kill 50 cops just because, you know, that's only a fraction of the Black people that they killed. Wait, now you're talking about my wife.
For those of you who are joining in, we are talking about just the housing in the Black community and owning property, why it's important, and how to get yourself in there.
When I think of financial literacy, I just don't think of the classroom work. I think some of it is practical application.
I'm scared, especially, you know, calling them to arms, talking about poll workers or poll watchers. That is rooted in history of voter suppression and intimidation.
Joe Biden needs to make that a part of his educational platform.
Call that shit out.
I don't see much value in you speaking in tongues, and yet when you speak in English, you don't say nothing for my people.
Many of the reasons why we're dying is because of the conditions we live under that cause our health to be so bad, and that cause it's the food, it's the water, it's clean that shit up first.
When their fathers had prostate cancer, I had like a 150% chance of getting cancer, being diagnosed with cancer. I had a friend that did a raw vegan diet, 20 years remission, had thyroid cancer, never had surgery. I'm like, that's what I'm doing.
This week in Black People Shit, current events. What's really going on in these coronaphile streets? I'm your host, Chrystee Pharris. On the Arsenio Hall show, they used to do a segment called Things That Make You Go, And this past week had a lot of events that left us scratching our heads. From a Kanye presidential candidacy announcement, to a celebrity posting her famous husband in the shower, to a photographer making history with Vanity Fair. This and many, many more topics I'll be discussing with my co-host and actress, Janora McDuffie, and writer Abdul Majid. And also, we'd love to get your opinion on some of the topics. So if you want to join in our conversation, please click the link in the chat because we want to hear from you. All right, let's bring everybody in. Hey. What's happening?
What's happening? Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy
Wednesday. Yeah, so let's just dive right in, get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is entanglement. What's going on with Jada and Will? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well,
we knew.
Go ahead.
Well, we knew Jada and Will were about it, like, you know, when they first got together. They definitely did not make a secret out of their relationship, just not following rules of normal relationships. But what I appreciate is just them revealing there's no such thing as normal. And I do think, I know I've heard ain't nobody's business, but with the price of fame comes this attention to their relationship. So like it or not, it's just part of the beast, and I'm happy to see them keep it real. I have some other thoughts and comments, but I'll let y'all speak for now.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I've always admired their relationship. I always thought their relationship was so wonderful. But what I think it did for me was that it allowed me to realize that nothing is perfect, you know, from what we look at from the outside. And that when you're in a relationship, everybody's going to have their trials. And yet we still can make it work. You can still make the relationship work. Now, I also have some comments about the fact that you messing around with somebody who is not mentally well and all of that. But I'll tap into that in a second, Abdul. What you got to say? And if any of you guys are out there that want to chat and come on in, there is a link in the chat box that you guys can come on into the conversation. So go ahead.
No, I think with regards to their relationship, like everybody says, what you do in the privacy of your home is your business. Whatever you decide to negotiate, because a marriage is specifically just a negotiation. Whatever you agree to is what you agree to. I had a problem with how she approached the conversation, being that it didn't seem like she took any accountability on her end of taking advantage of a 23-year-old physically sickly and mentally unwell person. The kid was 23. He was physically unhealthy. And they said throughout the whole process of the conversation, he was so sick. He was so sick. We needed to help him. We needed to help him. So I think she took advantage of it. And I think she took advantage of him. I really did. And if the shoe was on the other foot, Janora, if that was Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, everybody would have been jumping on his ass about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, just a simple fact that all of, if it was a guy dating somebody that young, knowing that, you know, he was dealing with some issues, everybody would have been saying a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Tim said Abdul for president.
Damn right.
But, I mean, it would have been a whole nother thing. People would have been like, he need to be on sexual, some type of charge, like, you know, go to jail, some type of. But that's not what they're saying. They're like, go ahead.
Yes,
go
and
ahead.
I am in that cheering section. Go ahead. She ain't take advantage of that young boy. He knew he wanted some older finesse in his life with the name of Jada Pinkett. I'm not mad at it at all. And I think it's nice to see the tables turn.
She had all. Here's the crazy part. Remember a couple years ago when a Bishop Bishop Long,
yeah.
Yeah, when he was messing with those 4 young men, Eddie Long, Bishop Eddie, and he was messing with those 4 young men, and they said, "Oh, he took advantage of those guys because he was in a position of power, and he was buying them gifts and doing all sorts of sexual things to them." They jumped on his case. They jumped on his case about it. So why isn't the case the same with her?
Abdul, why you gonna compare my Jada Pinkett and young little Augie to Bishop and the 4 young dudes singing in the choir? That is not a fair comparison. There are two.
It is fair. It is fair because he was. Listen, he was in a place of power. She was in a place of power. She took advantage of who he was and everything that he was going through, knowing that everybody's looking up to them like, "Oh my God, it's Jada. Oh, it's Will."
Okay, so I did not see the interview, but at least from the recap, it did not sound like August said, I felt taken advantage of. All I heard from August's mouth is, I could die now because I know what love is like. That don't sound like nobody being taken advantage of. Sounds like
he also admitted to be mentally unwell. And in an era of everybody's talking about anxiety and mental health, and how you have to treat people differently because of their anxieties and their mental health, she should have approached it differently, especially the fact it's her son's friend. I mean, come on, this is dirty across the board.
Hey, how many Captain Save-A-Hoes do we know in the world? Both men and women, right? And that's what she admitted to.
But
you're
approaching it like that's right as well. I'm not saying that's right either.
So Chris said, so no one's upset that she's married, that she's a married woman. I totally agree.
Yeah. Now we hadn't gotten to that part of the conversation yet, Chris. We just talked about the age difference, but we can get to that. And I think that goes back to people having different understandings and different ways that their relationship works. I feel like I wish it was all cut and dry. No, I don't wish anything. I wish people live their own lives and do what you want to do. And if that's the kind of marriage that works for y'all, go ahead and do it. It's not a cookie cutter thing. Everybody is different and every relationship works different.
Okay, so here's my thing. It sounded like they were on the verge of getting a divorce. Like, or like it was over. So is it wrong for somebody to be separated? Like, hey, we're getting a divorce, and they're in a they end up jumping into a new relationship. Is that wrong?
No,
even though you're technically still married.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair. I think if you come to the agreement where I'm going to go my way, you're going to go your way. Whatever you do outside of that, I think it's fair business. Especially, it's been done many, many, many times before. There's many relationships you can point to across the spectrum. That's been people broke up and they've been in a relationship. What's the girl from Jeannie Mae? Remember Jeannie Mae from The Real? Her husband started dating the woman that he's with now when they were broken up, and then now they got married and he had a kid. So it's not like it's uncommon.
Right. Well, I think the key is, do you communicate that is the agreement? Are we separated and we just going to be separated because we need time? Or during our separation, am I don't want to say allowed or have permission, because I know Jada went into that as well, but just basic, what are the rules?
Yeah, because and I think the other person really has to know, the outside person, not the two married people that are now separated. The outside person has to know that there is a chance that that person might go back to their marriage. You know what I mean? So you're kind of stuck in one of them situations. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you,
yes.
I also didn't like that allowed statement she made either.
What?
You're in a contract. You're in a contract. A marriage is a contract. So yeah, she does have to get some sort of permission from him, because if you look through any legal statute that's happened over the last couple of years, there's been women who sued the mistress because they felt that the mistress broke up the marriage. Ooh. So if there was permission given, that would have never happened. So you do have to get permission.
I ain't never heard nobody giving no permission. Hold on. So Thurston said, I thought Jada and Will were on a break when things were going down. Let me see. Ain't no breaks from a marriage. Okay, Melvin.
Okay.
Right. Let's see. And I guess it depends on what marriage means to them and what their marriage is built on, Chelsea said.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I totally agree. Okay, wait. Before you got something else to say, because you know I'm about to jump to this John Legend and his wife.
No, you got it.
Okay,
keep jumping.
So now we're gonna get on this John Legend and his wife. She took a picture. She actually did a video of him in the shower and posted it on Instagram. So what do y'all think about that?
I go back to whatever works for y'all. Like if that's how y'all get down, and if that's how you want to share your relationship, great. And if I think my man is fine and I want to share that enamorment to the world, then that's my prerogative.
What happened to permission?
Now, did he say something?
Huh?
No.
Did he have a response like, "Oh, why'd you do that, babe"?
No, but even if he had a problem with it, I think their public face is so we want to be a united front that he'd keep it behind the doors. My thing is always, if the shoe was on the other foot and some guy showed his wife's naked body without her permission, there would be an uproar.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that goes back to double standards between men and women. Showing your man naked has a different connotation to showing your woman naked.
I just feel like I just feel like everything is. I just feel like social media is taking it too far sometimes. And although I'm not mad at their relationship, and if they're okay with it, I think that's great. But I just feel like we're taking some things a little bit too far, too personal. But the audience seems to like it. That's why her fan base is what it is. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But I just feel like, somebody said to me, she played.
Stuff like this can get you into the Will and Jada scenarios.
Fair.
When you're always looking for public approval, and you're always looking to get the fan on your side, and you have an image that you're trying to show, it'll get you in trouble when it doesn't go right. And then people start chatting about it, and then you get defensive and feel like you got to go to a red table to discuss it.
Go to the piano.
Or
the black piano.
Chris said that picture is funny, but don't embarrass your husband like that. And Chelsea said, I like John Legend. However, I feel he lets a lot of stuff go.
A lot of stuff fly. Here's another thing. Okay, and I don't mean to turn this into something it's not supposed to be. I think if your mate is willing to do stuff like that, she might not have the most respect for you.
Oh,
I don't know.
Listen,
if I understand that.
If the stuff that you keep letting fly and talking crazy and doing all that other stuff, I don't think that you have respect for your mate, because that stuff affects them as well, and you're not taking them into consideration.
I think it's a fine line, and I think that's reading the intent into Chrystee's mind. Like if she was just like, look at him take a shower, like poking fun, versus like, oh, I'm in so love with this talented, light-skinned man in the shower looking all good in his mid 40s, whatever. If she was doing it in a way where she was enamored again versus poking fun and I can do anything. And how do you know the difference? We're not them.
Yeah, I think she respects him. I think there's a level. Listen, I was sitting right next to them flying on American, and they had a lot of love for each other.
They say
literally the whole entire time. Mm-hmm.
They say the doorway to hell is paved with good intentions.
Okay, so Tim said that photo was born just like his singing.
Oh, Tim! Ouch!
Ouch!
Yeah,
they're no ordinary people. That's true, Melvin.
That was good. Did you get the pun? I got that, Mel.
I got that.
But as long as she doesn't catch him in a wee state, let the blood. I didn't.
There you go.
Yeah.
You gotta get medium
my
control.
That's my quarantine body at the moment. She ain't showing off my body. Oh, Christoph, that's okay. We're gonna get it together. We gotta get out there and get on that treadmill a little bit. So let's
you're not alone, Christoph.
Listen, not even in the least. I had to shoot this weekend, and I was like, they tried to put me in this shirt, and I was like, no, that little extra right there that's on the side right here, it's not gonna show up too well. So we're gonna have to take that off. So let's jump to Kanye West, who was running for presidency of 2020, but it looks like he just dropped out. I see everybody rolling their eyes. Go on, Abdul.
Yeah, he I don't even have a problem with him and his mania. I think he goes to these bouts of crazy and office meds on his med, his bipolar thing. It's bipolar disorder. My concern is more with the fact that we give this so much credit and that we give him the attention because he's talented in a specific area. Mm-hmm. I don't think, I wouldn't want LeBron James doing my taxes. I don't want, Kanye West running for office. That's just.
I'm curious to know how many people would have actually voted for him too.
He would have had some folks. Yeah, he would have had some folks. So people who are just disgusted with politics, who aren't a fan of Biden, not a fan of Trump, so they're saying, "Fuck it, let me just do Kanye 2020." Or people who want to rock the boat, or people who say, Donald Trump was never qualified, so Kanye West might even do a better job than somebody who was a talk show guy.
I'm not opposed to people being contrarian. My issue with majority of the stuff is people are uneducated. They don't know anything about anything half the time. They just know what they read. They'll read a headline and then they'll roll with it, and they don't know anything more than the bullet points that they give out.
Right. And Tim said that 2%, that he was at 2% of the polls, which is a lot of votes. So
that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that is a lot of people. I really do believe that a lot of people would have voted, and I don't think they realize the consequences. So one time I flew to Europe. No, was I in Israel? I was in Israel, and there was something that I think Bush was doing. And I remember sitting there, and there were a whole bunch of people, and they were like so disgusted of what was happening. And they said to me, do Americans not realize that who you have in office affects the rest of the world? Mm-hmm. And it made me go, I don't think people realize the consequences that we have with having Trump in office, or just people just voting him in, or if Kanye would have gotten office. I don't think people would realize the consequences of the things that we make. It really does affect the rest of the world. So,
well, I think the Kanye vote, in terms of like who are the people voting for him, aren't just people who might not realize what was at stake, but maybe the young people. I'm so tired of old white men running this damn country. I mean, not that I would have voted for Kanye, but there is something about youth, and there's something about somebody different than this old white man. No matter whether he wears red or blue. Can we get a she? Can we get somebody with youth? Can we get somebody with a little diversity or just different than what we've already seen?
Right. So Faye said, uneducated, exactly, Abdul. So don't run the country onto the ground any more than Trump. And just so you guys know, Faye is going to be playing my mom in my TV show called Myth of Control. I thought
yay! Yeah, that's awesome! Yay, Chrystee! Yay,
Faye! Let's see. Thurston said, right. I think a lot of his votes would have been from the young ones. That's very true. I think so too, and I think it would have been a mix of people. like, you know, white, black, a whole bunch of different people. I just think they would have been young. So
I do agree to a point with you, Janora, not to belabor the point, that youth is important and that youth needs to be taken seriously and that they have a place at the table. But I also think that wisdom, there's a lot of wisdom that comes with age. So the old white philosophies that are out there, yeah, I'm opposed to a lot of it, but I'm more opposed to the white part of it than the old part of it. I think there's a lot to say with wisdom. Wisdom brings a lot to the table. I know all three of us would have not done things in our 20s that we know right now, and that comes from experience and that comes from wisdom.
That is true.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Yeah, and in terms of an example of someone that did have wisdom, as in an old ass person, was Bernie. I was feeling the burn. I ain't gonna lie. I think he brings a lot to the table. So it isn't, again, a one size fits all, or you can't generalize per those categories.
So somebody asked the question, what about the whole Nick Cannon getting fired from CBS? Well, and there you go. Thoughts about the Nick Cannon situation. Well, one thing I did see, so if you guys don't know what happened, I guess in the last 24 hours, was that Nick on his podcast shows said some anti-Semitic comments, and also uplifted Farrakhan and said that, you know, that he was upset or sad that Farrakhan no longer had a platform on Facebook. And because of these comments and some others, he was let go from CBS, which also means that Wild'n Out and all those shows have been canceled. Now, one thing I can say is that he said, listen, y'all need to give me the rights to Wild'n Out, which is sounds like he doesn't have the rights for. Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
He said they swindled him out of his rights. Okay, so I'm sorry, I just want to jump in this real. So we're about to get probably canceled off of YouTube because I think if Black Lives Matter, Black history matters, and people don't talk about the Ethiopian Jews enough. The point he was making, certain points. There's a lot of Black Jewish people, and if you go through the history of Judaism and where it starts off in Egypt, in Africa, and a lot that surrounds it, there's a lot to be uncovered and need to be spoken about. I think the problem that they had is because he referred to white people as beasts in his statements, and I didn't approve with all of his language, but who am I to approve anything he says? Here's the other part, though, the Farrakhan part. I don't understand why people are okay with Washington and Hamilton and all these other people, and then bring up their history. You go, oh yeah, they did bad stuff, but they also did good stuff. But when it comes to Farrakhan, it's all inclusive. You either take it whole or throw it away whole. And I don't like that because he's done a lot of good stuff for the Black community when it comes to lifting up people from jail and rebuilding neighborhoods. And a lot of the nicest kids, the most respectful kids I've ever met have been the little kids from the Nation of Islam. They're like the most respectful kids in the world. Wow. So, you know, anyway.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that you know, that he lost a lot of stuff, and I'm sure that there's some, I don't know, I mean, I guess I don't really understand how Hollywood works. You know, it just seems like, I'm wondering if he would have said something about, you know, the KKK or anything like that, if he would have lost his show. But it just seems like there's a history. If you say anything anti-Semitic or whatever the case may be, it's a wrap.
Well, I don't think it was kind of anything. I think he kind of went hard on the paint. And I don't want to misquote what he said, because I know this is just breaking news today. And so I'm just learning the information and facts. But I think he was quoting some really heavy anti-Semitic
I didn't watch
stuff.
the whole thing, so
I saw the video a couple of weeks ago with him and Professor Griff, and I believe somebody in the chat said that he was also quoting Professor Griff. But him and Griff has a history of the reason he got kicked out of Public Enemy in like 89 or 88 was because of his comments toward the Jewish people. So I think the fact that he was on the show speaking about a topic he already got in trouble with. Then you add in the Farrakhan perspective, and then you add in the stuff that that Nick was saying. I thought that it was just a colossal just fuck up across the board, because it was just, this is made for disaster based on the content. And if we're going to be honest, there's certain people, there's certain communities that if you criticize them, there's ramifications for.
I mean, that seems to always be, you know, the stereotype, the story. I mean, I don't have any examples. I don't really know the history of that. But that seems to be what a lot of people say. I would have to do my research before I could even confirm or whatever the case may be. But I just think I just can't wait to get to a place where we're not talking about different religions and nationalities. And, you know, I know it's going to be like that for a while. I know we're going through the changes. It might not happen in our generation, but I just really want to get to a place where we're not having to have these conversations about it, you know?
Here's the problem though with that. The problem is that ideas are dangerous and ideas are important. And a lot of these ideas are rooted in, like, if you go back to the history of most of the ideas, most of these philosophies, the founding fathers, a lot of where their doctrines come from, they're rooted in Judeo-Christian ideology, philosophies. So they're always going to go back to, you know, the 10 Commandments. There's a lot of the 10 Commandments in our amendments. There's a lot of you know, the religious ideas in our culture. If it's, whether it be on the dollar, whether it be on the fact that you got to swear when you go to a courtroom, the fact where you got to, you know, there's a lot that's in there. So to separate it is hard, even though we're in a country that says we separate church and state.
Right.
Not every society does that. Israel doesn't do that. Saudi Arabia doesn't do that. There's a lot of places that don't have our Western ideas of separating, you know, church and state. And so that's going to be hard to dissect, because a lot of the ideas, a lot of the philosophies, even in our own philosophies, come from Judeo-Christian philosophies.
So before you say something, Janora, I just want to let you guys know, if you decide you want to come on in and you have something to say, go ahead and copy this thing right here, or just click on it and you guys can jump on in. So
please join the call.
Please join the call.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything before I go on to the next one?
Yeah, just pointing out that what also happened today within Nick Cannon getting the boot is Diddy saying, "Hey, come on to Revolt TV. Yeah. This is for us, by us. So you got a home here." So I think that's an interesting twist to this conversation too.
Yeah, and I also somebody said that it was worth, that Wild'n Out was worth over did they say over $1 billion, $1 million, or something like that? It was in the chat. So
yeah, he in the statement actually broke down the money that Wild'n Out generated, and he said it was $1 billion empire that Viacom just stole from him, and he wants the rights back to his company, and that the way they went about firing him wasn't fair. That was based on the statement that he posted himself.
So, Chris, I just want to say, I think you're a lawyer, if I remember correctly. I hope that you do entertainment. You need to start schooling some of these young people who are in the entertainment industry, so this does not happen to them. So let's move on to, we're going to move on to the bird watcher. So Christian Cooper, who was the bird watcher who had the cops called on him from Amy Cooper. So now they're trying to prosecute her, or you know, do that whole thing, have some legal actions. And unfortunately, he doesn't want to cooperate and says that she has suffered enough. Any thoughts on that, y'all? Because I hate niggas like him. You said what?
I hate niggas like him. I hate niggas.
Okay, we gotta watch that language on this show now.
Excuse me. I hate people like him.
Abdul.
I hate the people.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hate people who garner support and are willing to take the benefits of those things, but when they have to participate in helping the rest of us, they won't do it. Mm-hmm. He had an opportunity because what happened to him isn't just about him. It's about a continuation of things that happen to Black people across this country.
Mm-hmm.
And for him not to want to participate, being the face person, and he participate, and okay, so his sister put out the video, but he was on The View. He did the talk shows. So he was okay with being the face of this particular issue.
Right.
So now that he's the face of this issue, if he didn't want the responsibility, he should have backed off a long time ago. He should have said no thank you for the interviews.
Go ahead, Janora.
Okay. I am so happy that I did a little homework, because for this segment, I actually have Chris Cooper's own words. He wrote up his own op-ed piece, and I think he knew that we were going to talk about him on the show, and Abdul was going to come for him. So I have his words.
I read what he said.
Okay. Well,
I read what he said, and I read what his sister said as well.
Okay, but go ahead. So, because a lot of people out there haven't had a chance.
All right, because I was curious myself. And he didn't say he wouldn't participate. He said if he wants, they will subpoena him and he will go, but he's just not on his own gonna go. And in his words, let me make sure. Considering Amy Cooper has already lost her job and her reputation, it's hard to see what is to be gained by a criminal charge aside from upholding of principle. If her current setbacks aren't deterrent enough to others seeking to weaponize race, it's unlikely that the threat of legal action would change that. Meanwhile, for offenders who don't suffer consequences like Amy Cooper's, the law is still there to exact a price. Focusing on charging Amy lets white people off the hook from all that. They can scream for her head while leaving their own prejudices unexamined. They can push for a prosecution, pat themselves on the back for having done something about racism when they've actually done nothing. And their own Amy Cooper remains the only one purse clutch in the presence of a Black man away. I know some people may, because that was even more powerful. Hold on. And I'm sorry, because he said something about compassion. Shoot. Okay. Yes, I must err on the side of compassion and choose not to be involved in this prosecution. Let the DA do his job. He has already decided to pursue charges. If he feels my involvement is essential, he can subpoena me. I know some people may disagree with my reasoning, and that this decision comes as a disappointment to many who share in the struggle for social justice, and I'm sorry for that. But under the circumstances, it's the only course I can pursue in good conscience. I can't be mad at a brother for wanting to show compassion. And just to say, and I think this is what Black people have been throughout generations. We have shown way more compassion than maybe Abdul would, because remember, Abdul, on the first episode, you wanted me to be Nat Turner. I kill everybody. But I'm saying, and whether it's to our disadvantage or our advantage, I do think as a whole, we are a loving, compassionate people. And I think he's an example of where we come from out of forgiveness. Not that he's saying he's forgiven and letting her off the hook. He's just like, he ain't gonna beat her down no more. And he doesn't feel like that's moving the story forward. But this is all from his words, and I'm glad that I could provide that.
I just think, well, here's the thing. I understand what he's saying, and I do have a lot of compassion, but my problem is we, like you just said, we always give everybody a pass, and we're not making them. If he would have made her as an example, like they always make us an example, they make us an example all the time. You know, you have a thing of weed, we're gonna give you 30 years. You know what I mean? It's like, it's these little things that they make us an example. If they would have made her an example, if he would have made her example, it might stop other people from doing this. Because I just posted a throwback of Black people shit from 2018, where this is still happening 2 years later, 3 years later. It's the same thing. Now, if he would prosecute and actually allow her to go to, have some type of repercussions for it, I think it might stop people from doing it. But that's just me.
Can I say this? Okay. So I think his point is idiotic for the mere fact that if you look at because sometimes points have to be proven. If you look at the case of Plessy v. Ferguson, which was a case that got separate but equal. Plessy was was like 1/8 black man who purposely got on the train and stated that I am a black man so that he could get arrested to prove the point about separate but equal. And then there were a group of people who purposely would do things to get arrested to prove a point so that a law can be made on behalf of the black community. This is no different. A point has to be made. And if I can get a ticket or a citation or something happens to me for jaywalking, then why can't something happen to you for calling the cops trying to use them against me as a weapon? And points have to be proven. She's a good example of a point that has to be made. And all that shit about showing compassion, she had no compassion until the fucking media was on her ass.
Watch your language.
And I do think I do think that she has been made an example of. She lost her job. Kudos to
how many people lose their job all the time? Black people lose their job all the time.
But right, so this is a white woman who's done something that that has been done forever in the past, but is now shown there are consequences for it. So I'm saying that there is change happening, and she has been made an example so far.
That's just symbolism. That's no different than pulling down a statue. There's nothing concrete about it. It's just a symbol. I need a law. I need something to have some ramifications for
revised.
Wait. And saying that there has yes to all of this. There was just what Karen law that was just passed in San Francisco. It's just that, or something that was in the books. So I think it's all working. It's something is changing. Something is changing. So whether this brother wants to show compassion or not, and fight the power and put her under the jail, whatever area he falls under, there's still things happening that I think is moving the story forward. So to get rid of a Karen or just to change in general.
Well, and I was just gonna say the reason why for me I feel like he shouldn't show any compassion in this particular situation because last year the video is now coming out where a woman is suing the police department because they arrested her while she was in the shower. They were trying to get her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was already being arrested. They grabbed her out of the shower. She's completely butt naked. She's on her cycle and they're pulling her out with no clothes on outside. They try to wrap something around her, but they're also pulling it off. And they did all this in front of the neighbors. Now, again, I feel like if we don't start taking a stand for some of these things that are happening with the police, with the Karens, with the Kens, all these different people, then this stuff is going to continue to keep going. I almost swear. I almost said a cuss word.
Well, the show is called Black People Shit. I was guilty with the F-bomb a little earlier. Abdul just came in with the rest with the N and a few F's.
He's letting it out. He letting it out. So, but yeah, so the woman got arrested. All that.
I think, I don't know. I have to say this. Watching a lot of these stories, and then I go through these rabbit holes of watching one after another, after another, after another, after another. It takes you to a really dark place, and then you come. For me, I get to these conclusions like, damn, we're not even looked at as human. Like we don't have the decency to look at us like a human being. They wouldn't do this to some white woman who is half naked. No. Like they protect her. Oh, she has to be covered. Like they don't even look at her as human, man. Like that's the crazy part about this. And it's just, and it goes, and not to go back to the other story, but it goes back to the fact that there has to be laws, and there has to be some repercussion for treating us so inhumanely, because this is wild, man. Yeah. This is just crazy.
Yeah, and I agree about that rabbit hole and about watching stories and finding out new stories. Like Chrystee, this story that you're sharing happened a year ago. It's only now that we're hearing about her and her just vile mistreatment. But I don't ever want it to get to me to the point where I say I can't find compassion.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So not to bridge the stories, but also seeing that there is something changing. I think there, with the defund the police, like there is accountability starting to take place, laws starting to be put in there. So I think the issue or our action or effort shouldn't necessarily be in digging up the past, but where are we going to go? Is this effort and energy that I'm putting into being a better human,
right,
helping out my folks, where am I going to put that energy to move us forward? And you know, everybody's got a different lane that again they can follow and fall into based on what they do best, where their interests are. But I really want to move forward, just kind of like you said, but not just as, you know, I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Right.
But like, we already know the problem exists. We already know they don't think that they have thought of us as less human. But how do I not lose my compassion, and how do I find myself as part of the solution?
So let me just move forward.
Hey,
with something that's a little positive over here.
Hey, I love it.
So Viola Davis was on the cover of Vanity Fair, and this is the first time that they had a Black photographer who took the picture. So that's the first time they actually had a Black photographer that took the actual photo of the cover of the magazine. And there's something that I want to say about him. His last name is Kamis, and he took the picture. His idea that he got from the picture was from, do you guys remember back in the day where the guy that was not lynched, but all the whips, and that was I think it was 1863. But that right there is where he got the idea from. And this was like their form of protest that Viola said. So I just want to say, so something positive of something being changed. And out of the 35 years that this has been happening, and remember 35 years times 12 months out of the year, there's only been 17 that have ever been on the cover, Black people who have ever been on the cover. And 8 have been in the last couple of years, the last 2 years. So, but go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, and I was going to say, and 5 international editions of the magazine.
I hope that the Black community, well, let me say this. I love the picture. I love the fact that brothers and sisters are making breakthroughs and strides in all areas. I don't want to disproportionately put more weight on a magazine like Vanity Fair than I would put on Essence. And I think for the last 3 topics that we talked about, a lot of it had to do with advocating for people. Why don't people advocate for us by choice instead of advocating for us by force? It seems like Vanity Fair was forced because of the times to do something and make a statement, as opposed to in prior history that they did it on their own because they felt it was a good thing. So my issue with a lot of these things are the fact that if you're going to advocate for us, I would rather you advocate for us because by choice and not by force.
Well, I don't think that they did. There's a young lady who's there. Her last name is Jones, but she's been there for the last 2 years. Now, here's the sad part about it. She's been there for the last 2 years. Out of those 17, she did 8 of the 17 having African American people or people of color on there. But the funny thing about it is that in the last 2 years of those 8, she did get some backlash from somebody who was white, a white woman that worked there, that said, well, we need more people like us on the cover. So she was saying that they need more white people on the cover. So there is a little bit of backlash, but I think because they have a person of color who's working there, I think she did it because she wanted to do it, not because, she had to do it or whatever the case may be.
I'm talking more about the magazine than about the particular person.
Yeah, well, I have a question then for you, Abdul, because, it'd be great if it was all by choice, but clearly it hasn't been. So how do you expect other than by force or by protest or by like any means necessary? Like, how do you make somebody choose it? And even in asking that question was weird, like making somebody choose it, because that sounds like force, but
I think our influence is so dispersed that if as a community, if we collectively pushed up some of our own magazines and things of that nature, like our artwork, our music, and it's one of the major ways that you can look at the fact that how when we promote our own people just jump in and go, okay, that's dope as well, as opposed to them being put in a situation or predicament that sort of forces them to do it. Beyonce is Beyonce because the Black community loved her, and then people surrounding started saying, yo, she's dope as well. And then she became cover of all these magazines. So I think if we start to promote ourselves, if we show a lot of sort of self-love and promote businesses, like a young lady who will be talking about in a few.
I was about, I was about to go. I was like, well,
perfect segue.
Yeah,
there you go.
We're about to. So as we support our art, everybody
and our own.
Yes, and our own. We have a young lady who actually made the shirts that we have right here, if you guys can see. So our BPS of the week, as you guys know, we always like to promote a person who is doing something wonderful in the community, or promote their business, which is also doing something amazing in the community. So our BPS person of the week is a 14-year-old high school student from Maryland who started Young'n Woke Apparel LLC. When Arielle Dunn witnessed the recent events of civil unrest, including the death of George Floyd, she decided to use her love for art to express her desire for justice and equality. So she picked up a paintbrush and created a canvas, and the results were the unique crafted t-shirt entitled From Shackles to Chokeholds. Her wish is for her art to inspire other teenagers to learn history, fight for equality, and make a difference in their own way. Arielle says that Young'n Woke Apparel LLC is more than apparel. It's more than an apparel. It's a movement and a symbol of the youth rising. So here we want to bring her on. Here is Arielle Dunn. Hold on one second. Let me bring her in. Well, hello. Yay. So thank you for coming on the show. We're so proud of your work. Can you give us a little more inspiration and why you decided to do this? And
okay, so I was really moved, like you said, by George Floyd's death and the protest around that. So I really wanted to create something that symbolized Black power. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. I kind of just had the paintbrush and started painting with all my emotions and feelings. So the American flag is on in the background, and then African flag is underneath of it, sort of showing like how we still aren't like white superiority in America, how like we're at the bottom, and how racism and systematic oppression works in America. Also, on the Black Power fist, they're the last words of victims of police brutality, and on the fist is a handcuff, sort of symbolizing shackles and how we still aren't free to still, like shackles in slavery, and now today it's handcuffs, and it's called From Shackles to Chokeholds, sort of also symbolizing like how we never were free. First it was shackles, and now they're putting us in chokeholds and killing us basically for the color of our skin.
Wow.
I got a question. How did you get so woke prior to the whole George Floyd, and what was your inspiration of getting you to understanding your Black heritage and your Black history?
Well, my school is really, really big on like teaching history and becoming woke. It's a very liberal school. So that's kind of how I grew up. And also my parents and my whole household is really big. Like they never hid anything from us. Like they showed us the news. They showed us what was going on in the world. And my mom has always been big on like, making a change and doing stuff like from a young age, from elementary school, I volunteered at the homeless shelter. I've done a bunch of drives, like diaper drives and everything. Like, it's always been about making a change in the world. So I feel like this, my parents and my school has just encouraged me to speak out and sort of create a movement.
And is that your mom beside you?
Yes. Hello, how are you?
So you have to be proud, huh, of your daughter?
I'm really proud. Also for the fact that this was the first time she ever, and showed the original painting. This was the first time, I'm sorry, that she ever painted anything. This is her very first painting ever in life.
Wow.
So for her to think of this for their first painting and to be able to express herself like this, I just thought was really amazing, even as her mom. You know, I'm proud of her anyway, but I thought that was
So how has your community embraced you as a businesswoman now that because you are a businesswoman now? How have they embraced you?
They've been great. Like, I never expected the response that I got. Like, we did 40 shirts as just a trial to see how the response would be, and they sold out in a weekend. So I'm just really grateful and really thankful for all the blessings that have come my way. We actually had to order another shipment of like 100 shirts, and now we have to order even more. It's just so unbelievable.
Wow.
So
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, what made you decide to make it into a T-shirt and start your own clothing line out of the painting?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I showed my design to my godmom, and kind of as a joke, she was like, "Oh, that was on a shirt. I'd totally buy it." So I was like, maybe I can do it. So I knew of a black manufacturer, so I wanted to keep everything black. And I came to my parents, and they thought the idea was great, and they were down for it. So basically, that's how it went. And then we knew of a black website creator, so he helped me get my website and spread the movement.
So do you have any other ideas that you're going to come up with? Are you going to continue to keep this going and come up with new designs?
Yeah, I really want to. A bunch of people have been requesting masks to match the shirt, so I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
And then for the next T-shirt design, I have a bunch of ideas, but I haven't really finalized anything yet. I'm just waiting for something to really hit me like it hit me with the first painting.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. And I just want to thank Janora, because Janora came across, your page and was like, "Oh, I have the perfect BPS of the week." And she was like, "Chrystee, this is right up your alley because you love kids." And as soon as I saw the information that she sent me, I was like, absolutely, she has to be on our show. So we're just so proud of you. And, we want to support you in any way. For all of you guys that are out there, make sure you go to youngandwoke.com. You can hit her on the IG. How much are the T-shirts?
$30.
Okay, $30. And then
that includes shipping.
Yes, that includes shipping.
Okay, awesome. And then somebody just asked a question. I'm not really sure what it was. They wanted to know share the name of the black companies you use, please.
Okay, so the black manufacturer was Made in Be More Clothing out of Baltimore. And the website?
And the website design is Market Me Design, and the young man's name is James. And he's in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to James.
Make sure you tell him that they referred you, so she can get it. They can hook up on the next one. Oh, and I was just about to say, no, we got to stop asking for hookups. Black people always asking for hookups. Yeah, go ahead. You're gonna say something to Janora?
Well, I was also going to say that Poor People's Campaign, this money, the proceeds don't all go just to your college fund. It's also, you are also donating a portion of your proceeds to the Poor People's Campaign. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, my old youth pastor, she works with the Poor People's Campaign. And so in church one day, there was a guest speaker, and he gave a whole speech about the Poor People's Campaign, and I thought that their views really aligned with what I wanted to get out of the movement. So I thought like it would be the perfect duo just to donate some of my proceeds to them.
I think that's wonderful. And
Yep.
I had a brother who was homeless. He ended up doing well towards the end. He passed away last year, but I am all about supporting the homeless and poor people. And, you know, because I just feel like sometimes you just need a little bit of help, just that little bitty leg. You get that one little leg in there, you might just be able to make it, you know, just a little bit of hope. So that's why I'm even more proud of you, more than I can even share with you. So yeah, thank you.
And you know what's so dope about that is like, even if you don't I think your art is beautiful, and even if you don't come up with anything else other than that, you know, the people who came up with the American flag only came up with 2 versions of it, and it's on every clothes, t-shirt, bikini, towel. So you have like $1 billion idea right in your hands. Please keep all of your rights. Please don't let anybody try to swindle you out like they did Nick Cannon's rights. Keep all of your rights. You can put that literally on anything, and it will sell, because that is a beautiful picture.
Right, cups, everything. Make a couple of them more, you know, actually draw them out and sell those too. I'm sure that painting that you did right there could be worth a lot of money because it's the original. Yep. So yeah,
that could be a postcard. That could be cover of anything.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
So is there anything else you want to promote? We know that we have the website that's up there, your IG page.
I just wanted to say that every week we're going to be shouting out a Young'n Woke warrior. That's what we call them. And on my website, you can actually submit someone who you want to be every month. And if we choose them, then they get a free shirt.
Nice.
I
love it. I love it. And does it matter their age?
No, all ages.
All ages. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Again, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, just one last thing.
No.
In full disclosure, Tisha, Arielle's mom, is my soror, Delta Sigma Theta in the house from University of North Carolina. So when I did find out about Arielle, it was just a natural, of course, we're going to have you to showcase you and all that you're doing, and for you to pass it forward to showcase other people who are doing great things. Just God bless all of you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we're going to close it out, you guys. Thank you for joining us on our current events. We hope that you had a good time. We'll be back here next Wednesday, 4 p.m. Do you have anything that you want to throw out, Janora?
No, I'm just happy to be here. Happy Black People Shit Wednesday, everybody. Again, congratulations to our young and woke guests and folks. I just love being here, and I appreciate the folks who have chimed in, whether they are new guests. Oh, hey, Sabrina, like Sabrina Sanders, or Thurston Cherry. I saw Aaron Epps thing up there, also from University of North Carolina. I just love to see faces in my community that show up, or faces that just show up every week for us. So thank you all. You all really make the show. So happy to be here.
You, Abdul, anything you want to say?
Yes, www.youngandwoke.com.
I love it. I love it. And for myself, again, we just want to say thank you for coming every week. I really appreciate my writer, my producer, Abdul Majid. I want to thank Janora, who is like holding it down for me.
Best hair in the business.
Man, I know, right? I tried to switch it up a little bit, put the wig on so y'all don't get us confused all the time.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm also shooting. I was an actor this past week, which is amazing, in a show called Myth of Control that Abdul is one of the writers on, one of the 7 episodes. And then I'm also directing starting tomorrow on one of the episodes. So I'm doing triple duty and all that good stuff. So that's why I'm so thankful. And a little shout out to Tim Sanchez, who's behind the scenes, making sure we're running everything Somehow or another, we lost Abdul, but we'll keep it going. Again, Arielle, thank you so much for being on here. Continue to keep being a blessing. Continue to keep just shining, and don't let anyone tell you that you are not amazing. So, all right, everybody, good night. Enjoy, and we will see you guys next week. Somehow or another, we'll
next
catch
week.
up. Yeah. Oh, there he is. He's in there somewhere.
Oh,
wait, he about to hurry up, Abdul. We about to jump off. Everybody trying to leave. Okay. I guess he's not trying to jump on just yet. He's still trying to figure it out. All right, y'all. Good night, everybody. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.